You graduated 3 weeks ago. Diploma's still in the trunk of your car. Tonight, you're clocking in for a $13 an hour graveyard shift at a self-storage facility you don't own a single square foot of. In 6 months, you'll own 9 of them. Nobody tells you this part. The money isn't the wall. The wall is that everyone, including you some nights, assumes a $13 an hour gate clerk isn't allowed to look at a $75 million asset and think, mine. You're not looking for a way out of this booth. You're looking for the version of this booth that belongs to you. Nobody trains you to notice patterns. You just start noticing them because there's nothing else to do at 2 a.m. between gate checks. Units 40 through 90, climate-controlled, the good ones, sit half empty for months. Units in the older, unair-conditioned row are full within days of opening up. Nobody's fixed the pricing. Nobody's fixed the website. There isn't one. The owner, an older woman named Deb, comes by maybe once a month. Everyone else on the org chart is a property management company collecting a fee to barely manage the property. You start writing things down, not because you have a plan yet, because the gaps bother you, and writing them down is the only place to put that. One night, the office printer jams on a fax coming through, an actual fax, from an attorney's office addressed to Castellano Family Storage Trust. You're not supposed to read it. You read it anyway. 9 properties, 3 states, 1 family trust, run by one tired woman who inherited all of it when her husband died 6 years after he's gone. This is the moment the job stops being a job. You don't know what a cap rate is. You don't know what NOI means. You don't know how self-storage valuations even work. You just know how to check a padlock and count a cash drawer. So you spend 6 months doing the thing nobody sees, watching self-storage operator forums at midnight, rewatching the same explainer 3 times because the second half only makes sense after the first half sinks in, building a spreadsheet that's wrong 4 different ways before it's right once. This is the part that never makes the highlight reel, not the deal, the 6 months before anyone would take the deal seriously. The one elective you took senior year, commercial real estate finance, a half-empty 8 a.m. class you almost dropped, turns out to matter now. You email Professor Bennett. He remembers you barely, agrees to 1 meeting. You lay the spreadsheet in front of him. He doesn't say it's good. He starts circling things. Debt coverage ratio doesn't hold at this vacancy assumption. You've underpriced the deferred maintenance on 3 of the properties by a lot. You leave with more homework than you walked in with. That's the good kind of meeting. You've worked her gate for 8 months by now. Reliable, never missed a shift. Deb starts recognizing your car in the lot when she visits. One evening you ask if you can talk to her about something, not gate clerk business. You don't pitch her. You ask her one question. What would actually make this easy for you? She's quiet for a while. Then she says she's tired of the calls, tired of a management company that doesn't manage anything, tired of being the person her late husband's business still depends on 6 years after he's gone. She names a number, not the appraisal number, the number that would let her stop thinking about it. $58 million. Every instinct says fill the silence, promise her something, prove you're serious, say a number back. You don't. You just nod and tell her you're going to put together something real, and you'll come back when it's ready. Not before. You drive home that night and sit in your car in the driveway for a while before going inside. Not celebrating, just sitting with it. You need to prove the revenue can actually grow, not just survive, because $58 million against your spreadsheet still doesn't fully pencil at current occupancy. So you reach out to a storage industry booking platform, the kind of company that guarantees referral traffic to facilities that list with them. 3 weeks of back and forth, a regional rep who keeps asking for occupancy data you have to go dig out of paper folders in the back office because half of it was never digitized. On day 16, you think it's dead. No response for 5 straight days. Then, late on a Tuesday, the signed listing agreement lands in your inbox, a guaranteed minimum occupancy bump across all 9 properties, contractually, the moment you take over. An SBA lender, a loan officer who's polite but unconvinced. You're 22, no track record, no collateral. You put 3 things on his desk: the listing agreement, the corrected spreadsheet with the professor's fixes built in, and Deb's number. He doesn't say much. He's doing the math while you're still talking. You stop talking. Weeks later, the term sheet comes back. The bank will fund $44 million against the portfolio's cash flow. That leaves $14 million in equity. You have $1,900 in savings. Smaller gap than the one you started with, still $14 million. Your old college roommate works in tech now, decent savings, has mentioned more than once he wishes he'd put money into something real instead of watching it sit in an account doing nothing. You lay it out on his kitchen table. He asks slow questions. What happens if the booking platform deal falls through? What happens if 2 properties underperform? You have answers. The professor already made you build for that. He says he's in. Then he asks if he knows anyone else who might want in, because $14 million is still more than he wants to carry alone. You post, carefully, factually, no hype, in the same storage operator forum where you taught yourself half of this. A semi-retired operator with 3 facilities of his own reads the post, messages you, gets on a call. 1 question: has the bank already underwritten the cash flow? Yes. He says that's the only diligence he trusts anyway. He's in. Together, they cover the $14 million. You now control the deal. 22 years old, $1,900 of your own money, still on paper. Closing day. You didn't buy a suit for this. You're wearing the same gate-clerk polo you've worn for 11 months because your shift starts 2 hours after the signing and there wasn't time to change. Deb signs first. Doesn't say much, just looks at you for a second the way you look at something you're finally allowed to set down. You sign after her. Your hands aren't steady. Something you've done 1,000 times signing gate logs. Today it takes a second longer. 2 hours later, you're back at the booth. The same keypad, the same flicker in the light above the window. Except the override code you memorized in your first week, the one that opens every gate on the property when a tenant's card fails, isn't a workaround anymore. It's yours. It was always going to end up being yours. 9 facilities, $75 million. Yours. In the bank's wire confirmation, in Deb's signature, in a cap table with your old roommate's name and a stranger's from a forum on it. Nobody puts the printer jam in the story people eventually tell about this. Nobody puts the professor's red pen, or the 5 days of silence from the booking platform, or the porch chair where you said nothing on purpose. They'll say you got lucky, working the right gate at the right time. They're not entirely wrong. But luck doesn't sit at a kitchen table for 6 months teaching itself what a cap rate is. You didn't buy a storage company you couldn't afford. You spent 6 months becoming the only person who could see what it was actually worth. The gate was never locked. You just hadn't learned the code yet.